What?
And then give you the thumbs up.
Oh, we have it now, okay. Well, good evening for a second time. This is Tuesday, October 6th, 2015. This is the regular meeting of the Clay Township Board at 6 p.m. in the community room at the John Hensel Government Center. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we start with the pledge of the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam President, point of order.
Yes.
Today is Tuesday, October 13th, not the 6th.
Oh, thank you.
The 6th was a great day, but this is the 13th.
That's, how did I wind up with this agenda?
Because you're looking at last week's when we were going to meet.
Well, what have I got on my phone? Did I have that? One moment, getting sorted out here. Okay. Okay, we're at the approval of minutes. The first approval is for the minutes on July 1st, a special board meeting as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Second order is minutes from the September 22nd board meeting, which was a 7 a.m. meeting, and I would like to have a motion to.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And the third one is for the meeting of September 22nd, a regular board meeting at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Public comments. Anybody else want to make a comment before I start? No, I know Judy does. I haven't skipped her. I wanted to know if anybody else wanted to fill it out. Sorry, Judy, that wasn't aimed at you at all.
I know. No, I know you.
Okay. Please come to the microphone, Judy. Judy Hagan.
Thank you. Good evening, trustee and township board members. My goodness, we've fixed this magnificently. It's attacking me a little bit, I think. I would like to take this opportunity to address you as a member of the Central Park Building Corporation and as a taxpayer about the recent amendment of the Central Park bond. First, I'd like to raise the question about whether or not there was really much of a savings in the long term. And secondly, I'd like to address the process itself. While a property tax levy is the easiest tax for most people to understand, there are other revenues that come to Clay Township that are significant. One of those other revenues is the county option income tax, or COIT. The park bond was the last debt issue in Hamilton County to be able to capture COIT dollars. That COIT revenue has enabled the park department to continue park development and provide capital maintenance without having to seek other tax dollars for these projects. The COIT capture, unique to Clay Township, should have been looked at when assessing whether or not it made sense to amend the Central Park bond at this time. While an assessment of the property tax savings was provided, no assessment of the county option income tax loss was undertaken. Hamilton County is unique in the state of Indiana in the amount of COIT generated and returned to local government units. Clay Township taxpayers, including those within the city of Carmel, are the largest source of county option income tax revenue in the county and continue to contribute more COIT than other government units, and then we receive back due to the wealth of Clay Township. The Central Park bond was carefully crafted to capture and return as much of that COIT revenue to our taxpayers as possible. The upward trend of COIT revenue for the remaining years of the bond was not taken into account either. Due diligence by taking a look at a more accurate financial impact of refinancing the park bond was not taken. It is not at all clear that much of a savings has truly been realized when the loss of county option income tax is included in the equation, as well as the need to now issue new debt in about 8 years to replace the lost revenue. The bottom line is perhaps $1.5 million in savings, which is real money, has occurred in property tax levy due to the loss of about $3.3 million in COIT. Assuming the township will make up the loss, another debt service will need to be undertaken in the future. That will generate new consulting fees. So in the end, the process will have gone in a great big circle. The only certain beneficiaries of the bond amendment and the future bonding are the attorneys and consultants who earn fees for the process. A comprehensive review and forecast of COIT revenue, as well as property tax, may have yielded a different decision. Second, I'd like to question the process itself. Working together, we have created a first-rate park and recreation system in our community in less than 25 years, built from nothing. The park board and staff work in a business-like fashion to make our park system operate in a financially sound manner. Last year, in just their 23rd year of existence, the department received the prestigious gold medal of the National Recreation and Park Association for excellence, and that was on the first attempt. Unheard of. In September, the department also received the 2015 Barb King Environmental Stewardship Award from the National Recreation and Park Association in recognition of planning and constructing environmentally sensitive parks and facilities, implementing environmentally sensitive maintenance practices, and offering an extensive array of nature-focused programs for youth and adults alike. The Park Board and Park Department are doing an outstanding job providing services to our community in a financially sound, businesslike, and sustainable manner. The department leadership is being sought out for advice on best practices by a wide range of institutions, from the National Park Service down to other park departments. Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation Department are not meeting benchmarks. They are creating the benchmarks. The action to amend the Central Park bond, which has seriously affected long-term planning, was taken with no notice to or involvement of the Park Board or Park Department staff. There was no advance notice to the Building Corporation beyond the required 48 hours legal notice of a meeting. Only one member of the Building Corporation could actually be present for the 7 a.m. meeting. The City of Carmel is just learning of the amendment after the fact. While you are the fiscal body with the power to take this action, this process was not in keeping with the long history of keeping everyone in the loop. The action you planned should have been raised at the joint budget hearings earlier this year at a minimum, if not sooner. That would have been the appropriate time to jointly discuss what was under consideration and consider the long-term implications. The timing was rushed and for the benefit of the consultants. Our gold medal park department did not deserve being excluded from a process that affects their long-term financial sustainability, nor did the park board appointees who give their time to serve our community. This was not the way to reward or recognize their outstanding service to our community. The success of the park bond process has been the result of all of our units of government communicating and holding hands for the greater long-term good of all our taxpayers. Yes, it is time-consuming and challenging, but that process was not followed this time. The township has been the foundation upon which the park department has been built and sustained. I hope this instance is not the beginning of a new negative trend in park support by the township. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Any comments from the board? Paul?
Nope.
Matt?
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you. The first action under item 5 is the adoption of the 2016 salaries. Doug?
Before you should be the Form 17 that the State Board of Accounts gets that lists all of our salaries for the next year for 2016. And all I need is for your approval unless you have some questions.
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The next order of business is adoption of the 2016 budget. Doug?
What I gave you guys before was, when I sent the packets out to you, I sent you the budget highlights, and really there wasn't a great deal of highlights. Actually, our budget, our total budget, all funds, it went down $120. So that's a good thing. Our COIT for next year, so far, now we'll probably get some more feedback from the DLGF, but right now our COIT has went up $272,000. And that's just a kind of a sign that people are getting back to work because our township assistance has dropped considerably. So what I've given you is kind of the general fund, or each fund on that budget highlights. And like I said, there's not a lot to report. The increase is 2.4%. We went up from 829 to 851,000 next year. The spreadsheet that you have in front of you, and as far as grants, we're going to stick to 250 for this year, 250,000. But the only really one I want you to look at is we went up on 3F, which is the computer services. We went up 1,000 on official bonds. We went up 1,000, and then the other one was actually 5,000 on spatial projects, and that is videos and miscellaneous grants. One of the things that I've got Angie, the township accountant here, but one of the things we're learning is even though the state tells us we shouldn't have money put away, when we get calls from our bonding company like Standards & Poor's, that's one of the first things they ask is your balance. And all of our funds are pretty good except for two, and that is the general fund, which I'm working on to build, and the fire fund. All the other funds are in great shape as far as strong balances. So, I know that Judy was in my office, and one of the things that we talked about was maybe working on putting a little bit more COIT into the 1215 fund to help catch up with what we will lose come 2014, or 2024 and 2025. Actually, it's 25 and 26 in it. It's 25 and 26. Okay? And one thing I want I want Angie to say a few things here about this bond. And I think it's constantly changing. But as a matter of fact, I just got out of a meeting with her. We were talking about it. And one of the things we are concerned with is what our taxpayers are paying and where we can save. So, Angie, I want to have you mention what you talked to me about earlier as far as savings and stuff.
Thanks, Doug. So I'm happy to report that the bond sale was very successful. There were two banks, local banks, that came in and able to provide even more savings, and that a lot of the other fees you would typically see with an official statement, a larger sale, were not needed in this case. Old National Bank came in and took $20 million at a 1.84% interest rate. Regions Bank came in and took the remainder, $16.97 million, at a range of a 180 to a 220. That's compared to a interest rate that we are currently paying that ranges from a 5 to a 5.25. So I think it shows, again, the strength of the township and where have they been with management of their funds. And of course, the goal is to increase some of those fund balances. That was duly noted by those banks that took heed and looked at this potential refunding. The gross par amount of $36.97 million was then, of course, needed to pay off the old bonds. and pay the issuance fees, as well as the banker fees that are associated with the refunding. The net present value savings, which I think is the key value that you want to look at, net present value was $5.5 million. Those savings, again, are taken in that last year and a half. It was the goal of the township to maintain the same level of COIT revenues that the Parks Department and that non-reverting fund are accustomed to receiving as long as possible. So that was the goal in the structuring. So we've achieved that goal to keep that steady. All of those savings then were taken in that last year and a half. If I compare that to what the COIT that is actually derived from that park levy itself, the township's going to continue to receive COIT. It's going to be at different levels, but the other funds do generate COIT. The taxing units are still going to get that COIT. It's not going to be then received by the parks in those last year and a half, but we'll still be able to provide and fund other services for those other units. I think it's important to compare that net present value savings to the potential loss of COIT that will occur in that year and a half. The gross COIT value, which normally I would want to discount that as well, so I'm looking at apples to apples, is about $3.6 million. They get about $2.4 million a year. So if I assume we lose one full year at 2.4 and the 1.2, the net present value dollar savings from the refunding was still much greater than that potential loss in those dollars that we normally would have deposited into the non-reverting fund. And that's on a gross basis compared to net. So if I were to net that value and discount it for inflation and the value of a dollar, it would be even less. So I really feel this was a beneficial action for the taxpayers. We looked at doing this where we thought that both could win by keeping that level of COIT the same over the longest period of time, but also then taking advantage of low interest rates. The fact that we just did the fire debt once the other rolled off. We had just went through the rating process. I think folks are aware of the strength of the township, and that was realized by the savings that the township was able to achieve through this refunding. So if there are any questions on how that went, we're looking to close a couple of weeks, 21st, that's when the actual transaction will occur, and those funds will be deposited with the escrow agent to pay off the old debt.
21st of October.
Of October, correct.
Thank you. Any questions? Paul?
Thank you.
Matt?
So Angie, you're working on providing a number, because it's my understanding, and without reading the 15 different versions of our interlocal, should we not continue to fulfill our financial obligation to the parks at the end of now 2024, then we lose our board appointment?
And I think that's something that we had talked about, so we will continue to look into other methods of trying to shore up those dollars that they had counted on in those outward years to help with their capital funding. So that was something we'll continue to look at, continue to look at building balances, so there may be funds available for that, and continue to revisit that each budget season as we're going through to see where we can make up some of those values and those dollars.
Do you think maybe next meeting or two, you can give us some options on how to start saving, how to start
Yeah,
planning?
we can start brainstorming that for sure. And I think a lot of it starts with the adoption of today's budget, just by building up some of those cash items. We're going to be restricted to some cash we build up. Of course, we can't use it for everything because we are, restricted by some of the use of funds. But there are avenues that we can start looking into and looking at ways that we can start planning ahead into that far future.
Exactly, and that was discussed in that meeting, that we were going to take that
Quite extensively.
appropriate actions as soon as we could.
And then Doug, I have a question for you regarding the budget, sort of along these lines. When, for instance, on the fire station bond process, are the fees, like your fees and specifically the attorney's fees, built in to the bond? Because I know that $35,000 is not what you spent on a lawyer this year. So their fees get rolled into.
Yeah, their fees, we have attorney fees and accounting fees that are rolled into the bond. Yeah. That is separate. What you see as our budget, that is total separate. That's the day-to-day stuff. If we have an issue that we need to call Bob about, that's all that. And that has never changed. In my 9 years here so far, it's been $30,000. So we just kind of left it there. You never know when something's going to come up, but that's just the everyday. That has nothing to do with the bondings. Either bond, either one.
Any further comments?
So do you want to?
So you want me to continue on? Is there any other questions so I can?
Not right now.
Okay. One thing, now that the two fire stations out west, we've already talked about this, but the two fire stations out west will be paid off at the end of the year. Okay, and then we're doing the new Station 4 and the addition to Station 3 and the remodel, and then the training and maintenance facility. Okay, that will carry, I mean, we'll do the new bond, but it's gonna be at the same cost. I'm not gonna raise taxes, and we talked about that, so we're not. However, what I want you to know, because once you get your monthly accounting report from us, we're gonna have another bond, or another fund, and it's called the Fire Building Debt Fund. Before, both the fire stations and the Central Park bond was in the same fund. It was just a fire debt fund, or a debt fund. Well, since the stations are gonna be paid off out there, the only one left on our debt fund, a Township debt fund, service fund is the Central Park. And then if you look down farther, you're gonna see a fire building debt fund and how much we pay there. So there's two separate funds now, and I wanted you to, so you think, wait, where'd this come from? You now know, okay? Nothing else has really changed that much. We've kind of stayed within the budget, overall. We don't really see a lot of changes, and after about 9 years, I think I've got it figured out. Hopefully, anyway. Right, Ange? I'm open for any questions. I know you guys have the grants to do, and it's $250. We haven't changed that for a few years either, so it's still $250. And if you have any questions on any of the levies, the tax rates, the budget amounts, of course, you can always get a hold of me. But I thought it was kind of strange when I was telling you about we went down $120 on our annual report. Next year's is $9,405,418, and this year was $9,405,520. So that's pretty close.
Any comments, Paul?
No.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Angie and Doug, the fire debt fund budget for next year is $366,000. Was my understanding, did we over bond it? Or didn't we bond in excess in case we didn't? Is that enough money should something come up? Because I'm trying to think what the final bond number was.
Let me say this, and hopefully this will take, what we did is we want to make sure we got Station 44 done, and we got 43 done, and then we were going to do whatever we could with the maintenance and fire training. So basically, we're looking at the fire maintenance and training doing maybe not as much on the inside, but at least we're going to have the building up, we're going to floor in, we're going to have a lot of the, bike racks, John? In landscaping, that's kind of a joke between me and him because we have to have a bike rack out there. But those are things. What I want to do is make sure we stay within the tax rate. I didn't want any increase in taxes, period.
No,
we are staying within there. And you know what? Even some of the stuff that we can't do, maybe a maintenance and training facility, it can be something that can be budgeted down the road.
No, and I think, the three of us sort of made that a mandate about the
Right.
taxing limit. My question is, or my standpoint from the beginning, which you didn't quite agree with, for whatever, was I think we should pay cash for as much as we can. I think we hold on to too much cash, to be quite frank, for a government entity. But what I'm saying is, the $366,000 in that fund, should something arise, that's cash money,
No, we can't touch that. That's our debt that we pay every year. Okay?
But that debt,
You know where the money's at? I'll tell you where the money's at, is the 1215 fund. Don't be misled with that. The 1215 has almost $7 million in it, okay? So when you look at our budget, you know, you're talking about the Central Park is 4.4 million in debt, and that, or I think we pay, what, 4.2, I think, a year. Okay, so that's it. And then the 366 is our debt that we pay.
That's our mortgage payment
Right,
yearly.
right,
I
that's
get
right.
that. What I'm saying is, with that, do we have enough money? Should we exceed what was bonded? Are we covered to finance with cash overages on the fire station
I
project?
do have in my fire fund.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, right, yes, in the 1111.
Is that why there's the $100,000 increase?
No, it's probably more than that.
Okay.
Okay, but that's what the increase from last year is. So there is more in there than just 100,000 to help with that.
So hopefully they keep us on budget, we get everything we want, but if they don't, there's money in that
Right,
fund.
that's exactly right. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Matt.
No,
Yes.
that's all I wanted to know.
Yes.
Good point. Anything else? Should we go on to the grants?
Yeah. Unless you have a question. And like I say, even if you come up later and have a question, let me know.
Part of the budget is always something we like to do for the community. We try to meet all of your wishes, and a lot of thought has been given to this over the last few months. So I'm going to read off what we are allocating this year, which then totals $250,000. Chausey's Place, $7,000. Prime Life, $30,000. Trinity, I'm not reading out the full name. I hope you understand these as I go along. Right, I need this back, man. Okay, Trinity Free Clinic, I just wanted to make that clear. That's $30,000. Prevail, $30,000. Janus, $30,000. Going down here. Gleaners, $8,000. Why not? Nope, I just lost my place. Okay, NAMI of Indianapolis, $2,000. Meals on Wheels, $30,000. Carmel Christmas Assistance, $5,000. Indianapolis Interfaith, $1,000. Carmel United Methodist Church, $5,000. Carmel Dad's Club, $30,000. The library, $20,000. Hamilton County Leadership Series, $1,000. Carmel Sister Cities, $2,000. Carmel Community Players, $5,000. Booth Tarkington Theater, $2,000. The Carmel Junior Senior Exchange, $1,000. And the Historical Society, $10,000. And Hamilton County Economic Development, $1,000. And for the last three, they made no presentation, and they're not allocated any money this year. So that totals $50,000, and we hope we met your wish list. We did the best we could.
One point,
Yes.
Mary,
All right.
the ninth organization that you bequeathed money to that we did, it's the Carmel Fire Christmas Assistance Fund.
Right.
You left
What
out
did
the
I?
fact that it was the fire, Carmel Fire
Oh,
Christmas Assistance.
I had it on here as Fire Christmas because it was, I didn't have it written out. You have my sheet. It's over here. So yes, it's Fire Christmas.
Carmel Fire
Carmel
Christmas
Fire.
Assistance.
Carmel Fire.
Yeah.
And that's what our grant totals are for this year.
I move we approve the
Budget?
2016 budget as presented.
I second that motion.
And are there any, well, I approve it, approve it, what am I trying to say? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there any more discussion? Where's where I was going? All set? All right. Doug?
The last thing here is, every year we have to approve the EMS budget for the fire department, and we've been doing that since '95 when we first put this together with the city of Carmel. And their amount in the 2016 budget is $1,396,285. And again, this is for buying fire apparatus, basically, I tell people category 4, and then including safety supplies and equipment. So once we get this, then I will send it to the city, telling that the board approved it.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye. Was there?
Discussion.
Do you want
Did
you
you
want
want any
discussion?
discussion, Matt?
Well, no, I just have a question,
All
Doug.
right.
I'm sorry. So what's the city's contribution to this fund?
This is ambulance user fees.
I
So it's just basically they hold the money when the fire department bills anybody that uses the ambulance, they bill them, they send the check to the fire department, and then the clerk treasurer deposits into this EMS fund.
And I say this every year, just because there's only a few things our state constitution guarantees for the residents of Indiana, and one of them is safety. So I don't necessarily agree with billing them, but we do, and that's fine. My question is then, we put $1 million plus in. I feel like if insurance companies are paying back, we should see some of that realization of the money coming back. We're giving them $100 million in this fund. They're trying to recoup the money based on user fees. But if the insurance company is paying,
No. We don't, you mean that EMS fund? We don't pay anything into that. That is all ambulance user fees. That is no tax dollars in that whatsoever.
I know.
Oh, other
You're
than-
collecting insurance money. If I go get in an accident and I take an ambulance ride, they're gonna bill my insurer for that ambulance ride.
Right.
Well, if we're putting all this money, user fee generated money in, then shouldn't we get, if they collect money, shouldn't we get some money back?
Well, but it all goes to things that the fire department needs. I mean, it's not like they have, it's actually basically just to supplement the fire department operations. If you look at the fire department's budget, their category 4 is zeroed out. Otherwise, if we didn't have this, then we'd be putting more money into the fire department budget. It's, our 4%, it may be 27, or I should say, 25 million instead of 22 or 23 million. But this fund, since it's user fees, I mean, it goes into this fund and it pays for category 4 items. They have zero budget for category 4. Right, Chief?
We're just approving
The budget.
the collection of the money.
Yeah, and, well, you're actually approving the budget of what they're spending it on, which is what you have.
Yes, we're approving the money that was collected and then deploying it
Yeah.
to wherever we need it.
Right, exactly.
So, but it's a capital budget.
It's a capital expenditure.
Right,
yeah,
so you can buy an ambulance, you can buy.
Fire truck.
You buy a fire truck, which we've done.
Mhm.
Why can't they use some of this money for their maintenance? Why aren't they using this for the maintenance facility? I mean, I feel like if they don't buy a truck this year, then I cannot imagine buying $1 million in supplies to refurnish ambulances, even if they do it.
You'd be surprised, Matt. Chief, why don't you come up and explain that, because I've been there and he's there. So, yeah.
Hi, good evening, Board. David Habush. Matt, I think really what you're referring to is a lot of this money is bonded money. So the money's already accounted for. So even though it's $1 million plus in the account, we're actually paying off the bond payments for the fire equipment, which we just ordered 2 new engines for next year. So we've got engines that are coming out of the books, and we've got 2 new engines going on the books. So that was about $1 million that we're putting back on in payments for 2016. We just
That's not a bond. Isn't it? You borrow the money.
Yeah.
It's not bonding. Okay.
That's my word I'm using. Yes, we're borrowing the money. We're making payments out of that. The easiest way really to explain this ambulance fund is, I understand, I think what your point is that we're actually we recoup money. The actual dollar amount it costs to provide the service, for every dollar we collect, it costs about $5.24 to provide that service. Now, in Carmel, our firefighters are actually doing 2 jobs. You've got the job of riding on the fire truck and responding on fire and extrication emergencies, et cetera, et cetera. And then you've also got the EMS side, which we're running the ambulance transport service, which is generating the funds that we're talking about. It's a very unique situation, and if you look at many municipalities to the south, Indianapolis, they actually have two different employees. They have civilian employees that are running the EMS transport service, and then you've got sworn firefighters on the trucks. The sworn firefighters still respond to the runs, but the ambulance transport service is actually being staffed by civilians. So you could make the argument that they've got two separate employees going on the same run. If we have a fire, the people on the ambulance are still responding, and they're still going into the building, and they're doing exactly what the guys on the engines are doing. So in theory, you could make the argument that if we had two different employees, it would actually cost us more to provide the same service. The ambulance transport service is exactly that. It is a service. It is a service. No one is making money in the ambulance transport service. It's a service that's being provided. There's several private companies. Is this helping at all? I just want to make sure that I'm not going on and on and on.
Informative. I guess all I was trying to achieve is if this is a capital fund, if there's money left over, it just seems like a lot of money.
The money stays there. It never goes, yeah, it rolls.
It's a non-reverting.
Non-reverting, there we go. Yep.
We're only able to build you a shell at 160
Yep,
grand.
yep,
And you
yep.
use this money, any money left over at the end of the year, to help your.
The money never goes away. It's always there. So the only amount that we can spend is what's budgeted. Okay, so if there was an additional $200,000 that was not budgeted, technically we can't spend that money, but it stays in the account and it rolls. So yes, I totally get where you're coming from. And once again, on these new building projects, we wouldn't be doing this without you, and so we are very grateful for that. And I appreciate your concern and making sure that we have what we need. And we are looking incrementally, and whatever we can't do this year, we do plan on making sure that these buildings are completely finished and up to the level that the township and the city would expect. Good.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, didn't mean to derail us.
No.
No, that's fine.
okay.
That's a good question. Are we all set here?
So-
Okay. The information item is,
Yeah, did we already say?
we voted.
Oh,
No, I don't think we did.
All right.
Yeah, you did.
Well,
We did.
We
We
moved
had the
and seconded,
discussion.
and then we had the discussion.
Oh, I'm
after.
sorry, you're right.
No,
You're right.
we've
You're right.
got a motion on the table and it's been seconded, so.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I thought we did that already,
We almost did.
but listen to the tape. Information items, fire construction project.
John Barbie from Envoy and Kevin is here from Axis.
thank you, John.
Got 2 minutes.
Maybe I
No, I'm
should.
teasing. I'm teasing.
Maybe I should have looked at this before I started asking all my questions. I don't know. I'm not-
Yeah, I wondered about that too.
Before you start,
yes.
Doug, your conversation about permitting, how'd that go?
Well, I received a call from and after our meeting, the next morning, I came to my office and I had a call from the city engineer, okay? And he called me, and I called him back, I wasn't here, but I called him back, and he said that he is going to contact, is it Thompson? Is it Thompson, the engineer in the?
Oh,
in the office?
Sam Weber at VS Engineering.
Okay, well, I thought it was, anyway, he was going to
Thompson
contact
is
him.
his assistant.
And they were going to
city engineer.
email me. Apparently, somebody said something after the meeting to the city, and I got a phone call that next morning. So I know they are working on it, and we had a meeting today, and I'm going to email Jeremy, the city engineer, and say, where's it at? Because he was going to forward a paragraph or a letter to me stating where it stood and everything. And, so we'll find out tomorrow.
Go ahead, John, sorry.
So I can elaborate on that a little bit if necessary still, but things are proceeding. We're not held up by this point without having their permit. and between all of us in the room, we don't intend to hold up because it's an item that we obviously can resolve between the municipalities together. Last Thursday, we received bids on the Carmel Maintenance Fire Training Facility. I have attached to the 3 pages after this proposed construction budget the tabulation of the bids that were received. Had a good response, and we're pleased with those. We did have a series of 6 alternates. The largest one to call your attention to being alternate number 1 was the interior office and training build-out. So where Doug talks about we're building a shell as the part of the base bid, that interior is what finishes the project per the construction documents. Currently, we're proposing and recommending that the base bids and those alternates 1, 3, 5, and 6 be selected and awarded for a total project budget at the maintenance training facility for $1,886,229. We're proposing that those be awarded that way tonight because if you read through the bid tabulations, there is a savings of about $22,000 between the electrical contractors on that alternate number 1. We do need to work on refining some of the scope to fully fund that. We're not short the entire 290. I think we were looking in the 120 range. But there are some items that the city had required as part of the original plans that I think we're also going to look at removing, such as landscaping that won't even grow in the soils that are out there. That's a scope item to be backed out. And then there's some other just considerations of what could be a furnished item versus a construction item. Additionally, we have contingencies built into this project, 43 and 44. 43 on schedule to be complete here by Thanksgiving for them to move back into. Kind of know where we stand on that project at this point. 44 still coming out of the ground, but in the next 60 to 90 days, we'll have a good feeling about how any contingencies that may or may not be required there. We're anticipating with an award today that we will start this project at the training facility by the end of the month and have foundations in by the middle of December and start erecting the building. The building's already ordered and scheduled for delivery on the 24th of November. By the middle of December, we will be out of the ground here and also know kind of what we ran into with the soil conditions. You'll see here there's an alternate 5 is a $53,800 line item to do a 2-foot undercut of the entire building area. That was recommended by the geotechnical engineer to prevent any slab excessive cracking or anything because of the soil conditions. They also recommended a lot of the footings be undercut. Those allowances have been estimated and are figured into these base bids. It is an allowance, it's an estimate. It could be higher, it could be lower. We'll know that in the next 60 to 90 days. So there are some contingencies in this project also that could help reduce that shortfall that we're talking about right now. And we'll know that far in advance of getting too far into the project and whether we need to back some of the scope out or not. So.
What's the building pad's thickness? I mean, sure, it's thicker than usual.
Well, the slab is 6-inch slab.
And that's what the trucks are driving across?
Yeah. I mean, they've got I don't know if you remember, Kevin, I think it's an 8 to 10-inch stone subbase underneath that. But because of that, they were old lime sediment ponds. If you recall, when we originally started looking at this site, we thought we were going to have to drill piles or do some helical piers or something to support this building. And we shifted it around on the site based off of the geotech reports
Well, I read the
to find the
geotech,
best
and
place.
I guess I assumed being a lime depository, it would have made the soil much stronger. I guess that's why I don't.
It's all lime, there's not much soil. That's where the main problem comes, is it's not compactable.
But you may not have to do the undercut. I guess that's my question. Hopefully.
Well,
Or are you absolutely planning on?
they're recommending this 2-foot undercut, just in their report, they straight out recommended it. So we made it an alternate bid to see what the cost was and try and weigh that. It's, Doug asked that it be in there because he didn't want to risk excessive slab cracking. But I'm not going to tell you that it doesn't make sense to look at closer when we're actually out there undercutting and seeing what kind of soils and materials we're getting into. Does it really make sense to do it across the whole thing?
Any other questions? Paul? This is information item, so there's no vote.
Well, he would like for your guys to get your approval on moving ahead with this.
Yeah, I guess I think what we did last time was you guys voted for consent. Doug's the trustee of the,
I mean, I can move along, but I've asked that you guys go along with what I'm wanting to do.
Well, then we need to make this an action item.
Yes.
So I'll move that we take,
Don't we need to add it to the?
Well, he's going to move
yeah,
that.
I would move
Oh,
that
okay.
the information item A be moved to action item D. With that, I'm going to make it all one motion. With that, and with that, approving Envoy's recommendation for the bid amount, including the 4 recommended alternates of $1,886,229.
And I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Thank you.
further discussion?
Thank you.
Okay.
just one last comment on the items with the city. We do have a TAC meeting, the courtesy TAC meeting a week from tomorrow on this site. It's been through preliminary TAC, but they didn't hold a meeting in September, so it got pushed to October. We're going to try and take that opportunity when we're in front of them to push forward the drainage items at Station 44 as well. So.
I want to, in case you guys aren't familiar with TAC, it is a requirement of developers and whatnot to have these technical
Advisory
committee,
where
yeah.
all the state departments get together. We would be exempt from that. He's saying it's a courtesy because we chose to do it to try to keep everybody in the city and departments on board so that things like permitting and whatnot, the hangups don't happen. So when he says it's a courtesy meeting, we normally would not, the township would not have to participate in TAC, but we are just to keep everybody
On the same
on the
page,
same
yeah.
page.
And in this case, it'll actually serve to push them along in the permitting snafu that we have resolved, hopefully.
Yeah, we'd like to get some FaceTime with them on that issue while we're there.
Hey, while we're talking about this, I'm going to be gone all next week. Matt, do you have some time to attend that?
I'm going to be in Naples.
Okay. Okay, unless Paul or Mary wants to, if you have a chance.
What day is
What
it?
day
Is
and
it Thursday?
what
It's
time?
next Wednesday,
Next Wednesday.
yep. Smack in the middle of the week.
I'm leaving Friday and I'll be back the next Friday.
What time is it?
Yeah.
I do
Is
need
it
to go.
9:30? I want to say it's 9:30, something like
I
that.
don't know. I'm gonna have to confirm that for you. I don't know it off the top
If
of my
it's
head.
in the morning, I'm not able to attend.
It's in the morning. It is in the morning.
I don't think that I have anything, but unfortunately, I don't have my calendar in my purse. So,
Okay.
shall I let you know, Doug?
Pardon me?
Shall I let you know? I don't have my calendar. right
No,
now.
I mean, you can't, I mean.
You're not gonna be
what I
here,
may
Mary?
Maybe, let me get a hold of Jeremy tomorrow.
Okay.
You see, Jeremy, we really need to talk about this, because I mean,
And John Thompson, that's his assistant.
John Thompson.
Director,
That's it.
That's who he was probably referring to.
okay, that's it, yeah.
He's who our primary contact's been with.
Well, let's try to get a hold of him before I leave then,
Okay.
okay?
We can do that. Any further questions? Okay, thank you.
Financial questions from the board. Paul?
None.
Matt?
Finance.
I don't have any either. Board comments. Paul?
No, I would, well, other than just, it's a very rewarding part of our job when we're able to grant money to organizations that truly need it. You know, the parameters are fairly straightforward. We try to help those people that are in the business of helping others. And even in a place like Carmel, there are a lot of disadvantaged, poor people that need help. And if we can provide that above and beyond what we normally do, we're glad to do it. So
Yes.
this is one of the more rewarding parts of being on this board, is being able to do this.
Man,
No, Angie, I appreciate all the work you do, even if it doesn't sound like it sometimes. Thank you for all the numbers. Judy, I really appreciate you coming and speaking, and I think your passion for the Parks Department is nearly unmatched, and I wish more people is involved and engaged in what's going on and would speak on issues, sometimes maybe before we vote on them. John, I appreciate the information you've given. I know Envoy has helped reduce the costs, and Kevin, thank you for producing the beautiful buildings you have. The renderings I've seen are just fantastic, and I drive by 43 every day on the way home, and it's coming together. And then again, to the grant request entities, we're blessed to be in a community where we're able to help you out, so I hope nobody takes it for granted or takes it lightheartedly.
I'd like to just thank everyone for coming. We certainly do appreciate you also coming, Chief. You're always available to us, and we appreciate that. We're really excited about what's happening now with the fire stations, and it's been a long time coming. So everybody in here has contributed in one way or the other, just by being here and being a part of the process with us and whatever we can do in the community, and we thank you very much for that. Judy, we know what your passion is, and I admire that very much, and hopefully we can work out some solutions going forward on what we can do to help the situation. We're all very concerned about that, so thank you for understanding. And that's what I have to say. Anything, Doug?
Nothing.
All right. Announcements. Oh, I gave you that
I'll be
option. You
gone.
said no.
I'll be
Okay.
gone, leaving Friday, be back next Saturday.
Have a good time.
We'll try.
Adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.